Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. In January of 2003, our guest from today was found dead in the bathroom of a small restaurant. He had been dead for over half an hour. When the paramedics arrived, they put him in a body bag and took him away. But the rookie paramedic had a feeling and decided to risk his career, break all protocols, and try to resuscitate Vincent. It worked. He restarted Vincent's heart, and after 3 days of coma, he gained consciousness and has lived a full life since. Our guest, Vincent Todd Tolman, was born in Arlington, Texas, and died 20 years ago on January 18th, 2002. Since coming back, he has traveled around the world, living in both Cambodia and Thailand. He has worked as a home builder, computer technician, and producer for the television and film industry. He loves animals, meditating, and spending time in nature. His greatest priorities are his relationship to his creator, his family, and the people he meets. Currently, he lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, with his wife, Andrea, and their 2 children. And now, he's here with us on the Gratitude Podcast. Welcome, Vinny, to the Gratitude Podcast.
Thank you very much, George, and it's my pleasure to be here to speak with you today.
I'm so happy that we get to speak, and I want to start with this because if that paramedic wouldn't have been so inspired to do something about the situation in which you were, what we're doing right now wouldn't have been possible. So yeah, it's amazing just starting from that.
Yeah, it is. The rookie paramedic that broke protocol to resuscitate a body out of a body bag, because my body was in a body bag at that point. And it had been so for at least 45 minutes at that point. And he broke that protocol, felt a prompting, felt inspired to go ahead and try to resuscitate this one. He felt the direct message that this one's not dead, that he needed to try. And so he did. And, the other 2 medics, it was a 3-man team. There was 2 veteran medics in the front of the ambulance and this rookie sitting in the back staring at the body bag. He wanted to make a difference. He did. This isn't something that is normal. This isn't something that, is very often ever done. But he did. He broke that protocol and resuscitated the heart, at least. The rest of the body, it took quite a while. I was brain dead for 3 days. So the brain took 3 days to come back. But modern science says the brain doesn't ever come back. And, my teenage daughter might argue that point with you, but I think my brain's back because I've been alive for 20 years since. So
yeah, I love that one. Yeah. This is amazing. And for me, the first thing that I'm thinking about is how fragile life is and how amazing it is just to have this moment together, to be here and to be able to speak about this. It's something that wouldn't have happened if the rookie paramedic didn't do what he felt inclined to do. And for me it's really special, and I really appreciate this moment and the fact that we get to speak about this experience of yours. And I'm really curious about what happened in the meantime. So Can you tell us a little bit what happened, what you remember um, from that period?
Well, I witnessed everything. I witnessed them bagging the body. I was watching all of it from above, and I watched them bag the body. I watched them take it away. I even saw the message get delivered, the inspiration or intuition get delivered to that rookie medic. I saw him receive it,
Wow.
even, and I saw him follow it and open that body bag, resuscitate the body. I saw them transfer the body to a hospital, to an ER emergency room, and it was so surreal because it was outside of me. I was watching from above, but me was up here. So I felt very disconnected, but yet I still was plugged in. I could hear and feel all the emotions and thoughts of anybody or in that area or that space of the body. And as they did get the body to come back and transfer it to the hospital, the body did go into some seizures, and at that point they restrained the body. They had to put these straps down on the arms and the legs, and at that point I felt someone strapping me. That was the first inkling or first understanding that I had that everything I'd been watching was actually me, not external to me, but it was actually me. And
Mm,
it was very scary at first, very scary, because you have this natural fear of death. It's kind of programmed in us here to help us survive and everything. And I had that fear starting to come over me, that how could I be so dumb, and how could I be such an idiot to not know that I was just watching my own death. And as that was overtaking me, I felt this warmth and this love come from behind me, and this warmth and love started to wash all the fear away and started to make me feel a love that I've never felt before in my life. I turned around and I see this man. I see this man. He literally is glowing of light. Light is coming off of him, and he's wearing all white. He's got a white beard and long white hair and very pink skin that glistens with light. Light was literally coming from inside his being. Everything on him just emitted light. And I noticed that this light was also love. And as it was coming off of him, that's what it was making me feel so loved, was it was all coming from him. And of course, my first instinct is, oh, you're God. And he kind of lovingly chuckled, and he said, no, son, I'm not God, but I'm here to be your guide, and I'm here to help you go wherever you would like to go. I'm here to help you go back to your body if you want, or I'm here to help you go anywhere you'd like to go in the universe. And so I told him, I said, well, I want to go where you're from. Wherever this love that I'm feeling coming from you, I want to go to the source of that. And he smiled and said, well, that's your home. We can go to your home. And so we began to do our journey, to my home, and to all of our home. That's where we all come from. And we began this journey. It was a 3-day journey. I was brain dead for 3 days. And so during those 3 days, we went on this journey, and I had to learn a lot. I was raised Christian. I was raised evangelical Christian. I thought I already knew everything I needed to know to get into heaven, but I didn't. There was quite a lot more that I had to understand. And it wasn't that it was different from my Christian beliefs. It was just more. I had to understand more about my own beliefs and fully embody authenticity to my beliefs. And then I could get into heaven. And I did. I went through that process of learning as well as traveling. So we were moving through space while I was learning, and eventually we got to the actual space of heaven, and we touched down in this amazing, beautiful space that just the grass makes me cry to think about it. Just the trees, the flowers, the water, everything there, the air, it's everything there is so full of this powerful love. and light. It all glows. So even the grass itself, there was light coming from within it. The flowers, there was light coming from within it. So when the first thing you notice when you get there is the colors are very different because light is coming from within everything. You get so many more colors that you don't get here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you made something that was, you know, maybe like a lamp or where light is coming from within the lamp, that's a flower or something like that, you can get different colors that way here. But still, the way it is there, everything has so many different colors that we don't get to see here. And it was very profound. I put my feet on the ground and actually felt and connected to this consciousness, this love of the creator. It was definitely God. You could feel that God was within everything there in this space. And that, yes, there is a God. There is really a creator, a source. You know, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it Allah. You can call it, you know, Krishna or whatever. You can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it God. You can, you know, the creator doesn't care what name you call. The creator cares that you connect. The creator cares that you care. And that's what I learned so much there as I touched down and I started to experience the experience of heaven and the connectedness, the all permeating love that is everywhere there, everywhere there. I got to experience that. It was so profound and life changing for me.
Wow, this is wonderful. And when you began talking about your experience, I got goosebumps. um, and you mentioned that you learned a lot while traveling through that space. What do you feel is the some of the most important things that you've experienced there, that you've learned there?
Well, I was able to break down. I learned a lot, and I learned more than just 10 principles, but I essentially broke it down to 10 major principles that encompass what I did learn there. And number one principle I learned, the first thing I was encouraged to learn was how to be authentic, how to be the real version of me, and who was me. You know, who is Vinny? What is my authentic self? And I was shown how in our lifetime, when we're very young, we're extremely authentic. When we're very old, we're very authentic. So, you know, coming into this life and before we leave this life, we're very authentic on the transition in and the transition out. But for some reason, in between those years, we become very inauthentic or non-authentic because we tend to put up different aspects to who we are to the outside world, but inside we're different than what we show to the outside world until we get to our very old age. Then we start peeling off those layers and we don't really care what the outside world cares about or thinks of us anymore, and we're us, you know, we're our real self. And I was shown that it's so important for us in this life to stop doing that, to stop putting on a fake version of you. Don't do it for work, don't do it for friends, don't do it for family. Be your real self, you know, authentically speak your truth lovingly to all those around you, and really honor the authentic feelings and personality of who you are, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable. That's the number one reasons why we put on these different personalities to who we are, is because we're afraid of being vulnerable. But what's very amazing is the most learning experiences that we can have in life are the most vulnerable experiences. Sometimes when you feel the most vulnerable, you're growing the most. So it's
Mhm.
quite important for us to embrace these vulnerable moments and be authentic. That's the first thing I had to understand. And then next I had to understand the purpose of life. And you know, being raised Christian, I thought we were we were sent here to earth to be judged, and then the good ones go to heaven, the bad ones go to hell. And that's what I really believed. And what I learned is that's not the case. Life is not a courtroom. Life is a classroom. We're here to learn, and not to be graded, but to learn. And we grade ourselves. So we're able to rise to the level that we believe we deserve, or we believe we've been able to achieve through our understanding and through our love. That's what life is all about. So, we're in this heaven space before we came here, and we realized we couldn't make any of our own decisions because we're so close to the Creator. Anything the Creator wants, we want. So for us to exercise our free agency, our free choice, we had to leave home. And it's funny because we have to do that here as well. As children,
Mhm.
as we grow up and we start wanting to make our own decisions, one of the first big things we have to do is we have to move out. We have to move away from home. So that's what we did. We moved away from home. And in the process, we went through a veil of forgetfulness. That veil prevents us from remembering where we came from or feeling that tremendous amount of love that the Creator has for us. Because that love is so strong that if we could even remember it, it would influence our decisions too much and we would not have free agency here. So it's so important for us to even forget where we came from so that we can make our choices. We could grow those choice muscles, and we could learn our ability to create through our choices and through our thoughts. And that led me to my next thing that I learned is that we need to love everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. The
Mhm.
good, the bad, the mean, the pretty, the ugly, everybody we've got to learn to love. Now, we don't have to love what they do, but we need to love them, who they are. And I mean everybody. And that brought me to my next principle, which is to listen to your inner voice. Listen to your intuition. So, what that medic did, that rookie medic, when he listened to his
Mhm.
intuition, he saved a life. And we need to all listen to our intuition. And if we don't feel that we have an intuition, or we don't have this gut instinct, if we don't feel we have that, we need to figure out how to have that for ourselves. And I myself, I teach people that. I coach people on that, how to build a stronger relationship with your intuition. And then that brought me to my next principle of learning to use technology responsibly, because technology is a tool that can help us or hurt us. And if you're not sure what it's doing, it's probably hurting you. Because if it's not helping you, it's definitely not helping you, then it's hurting you. So we have to be very aware of where technology is hurting us and where it is helping us, and use it wisely. And then that brought me to understanding that I needed to release prejudice. That was the next principle. So prejudice is something that I didn't feel I had. I have two sisters that are Korean, and I myself, I call myself a European mutt because I've got a lot of different European culture in my blood. I even have a little Cherokee Indian in my blood. I've got some Irish, Welsh, and German, Swedish mix going on, with a little bit of Italian also in there. And I needed to learn how to release prejudice to all people. It didn't matter their race, their religion, their lifestyle. I needed to release all judging. And better than that, I needed to go one step further. I needed to stop judging others for anything that they do or say or look. And I still work on that on a regular basis, because inherently we tend to judge people. That's how we live, and it's important that we don't, because as we judge others, we judge ourselves 3 times harder. So we have to
Mhm.
get to this process where we're not judging others so that we don't judge ourselves. It's very important. And then that brought me to my next principle, which is the seventh principle, which is exercise the power of creation. And where do we create? It starts with our magic wand. And what is the magic wand of creation? It's our thoughts and our intentions. So if you can control and direct your thoughts and intentions, you can literally create or destroy. So our magic wands of this world are our thoughts and intentions. It begins there. And from there, through literally quantum physics is proven, our thoughts and intentions begin to change the atomic structure of the world around us. The atoms start moving differently after we broadcast our thoughts and intentions into the world, into the universe. So it's very important for us to be cognizant and be conscious of what we program with our thoughts and intentions, because that is where we create. That is the power of creation. And then that led me to my eighth principle, which is avoiding negative influences, meaning that we have to understand what in our life is influencing us in a negative way. So many of us, we don't realize we are like Ferraris or Lamborghinis, and we go to the garbage dump and we start shoving garbage in our fuel tank. And then we pull away and we say, why do I feel so bad? I don't understand. I feel so bad. Why do I feel so bad? It's because we allow too much garbage. We allow too much trash in our system, in our body. And I don't mean just food. I mean actual energy of any kind. That means, sometimes entertainment. That's sometimes news. That's sometimes sports. We have to be very careful about what we allow in our being, in who we are, and avoid these negative influences. And that led me to my ninth principle, which is understanding that there is divine purpose even in evil. That for us to have a good, we have to have an evil. And if there is no good and there is no evil, there is no choice to be made. So we must have both. We have to have both. So we have to understand good and we have to understand evil. And there is purpose to both. And then the last principle that I learned is I think one of the most important ones is that we are all one on God's hand. So we are all fingers on God's hand. And for one of us to hurt another, we are inherently only hurting ourselves. And when we hurt ourselves, we are hurting everyone. So it's important for us to understand how that impacts life. That when we care for ourselves, we care for everyone. And when we care for others, we are inherently caring for ourselves, which is beautiful for us to implement in our lives. We can understand that when we serve others, we are serving God, we are serving ourselves. And that was the last principle I learned as I essentially got to the heaven space and got to see heaven and see what it was all about.
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Didn't want to interrupt you there. I loved the flow and how beautiful you went from one principle to another and how they're connected as we are. And
Yeah.
I think just what we're doing right now, we are so many miles away from each other, and still we're able to connect, and the listeners are going to be able to connect to this energy, to us speaking from so many parts of the world. So I think
Yeah.
it's a really good example of how connected we really are and we can really be.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the ability to make an important impact on the universe by our actions, our thoughts, our intentions. And I really try to embody these 10 principles that I learned. And I've learned kind of these little hacks to make it better and easier for us to digest and implement in our lives. And I've discovered this principle called the hour of power. And that is
Mhm.
to understand that the first half hour, the first 30 minutes before you go to bed, and the first 30 minutes when you go wake up. So last 30 minutes at the end of your day, the first 30 minutes at the beginning of your day, this is your hour of power. And what you allow inside your hour of power, that tends to be who you are worshiping, who or what you are worshiping in your life. So if you first, when you first wake up, if you go do a meditation or you do prayer or you read scripture, you read Torah, you read the Quran, or you go walking, you go exercising, you are honoring your hour of power. You're really connecting to the force of life. Now, alternatively, if the first thing you do is pick up your phone and look at the news, you look at the war statistics, you look at sports, you look at the financial numbers. If this is what you're looking at right when you wake up and you're also checking it before you go to bed, this is your religion. This essentially is what you worship. And it's important for us to be aware that we could worship cars, we could worship sports, we could worship financial data, we could worship um, uh, NFTs. We could worship uh, antiques. We could literally worship our kids too, which that's not such a bad thing. But at the same time, we need to be aware that even though as parents, as parents to children, it's important for us to still give ourselves our own hour of power to connect to the divine. And if we do, we're going to have more space to love our children. We're going to be better connected to the creator, so we know how to care for our children in the best way. So it really benefits us to do this. And that's one little trick that I've learned, one little principle that I've learned with from these 10 principles uh, of my experience.
Yeah, I love this idea, and it's indeed very powerful. Um, and since you mentioned children, I think they learn much more by the things that we're doing, and whether we love ourselves enough to give ourselves this kind of time to be more connected, to be in a better state of mind and heart, they will pick up on that. And I think that's a powerful example that uh, we can give the people around us in general, not just our children. But I wanted to ask you something since the beginning, actually. I'm very curious on how did this experience change your appreciation of life?
I completely changed it. I didn't really truly appreciate life before. I was living a life. I was 25 years old when this all happened. I was uh, quite successful in certain aspects of life and quite a failure in other aspects of life. But I didn't put near as much importance on family and on those who I care about. I felt what was important to me was entertainment, where and who I was going to be with on the weekend, what movies I would see and what clubs I would go visit, or what vacations I would go on, or what kind of income I was earning. That was so much a priority for me. It was these things. And the last things that were important to me were family, spending time with family. And what's weird is spending time with nature. I used to, growing up, every summer spend the almost the entire summer in the mountains, and I really connected to God there. I connected to my creator there. And that was when, as a child, before my experience, I connected to the creator in nature. But yet here I was as an adult, 25 years old, I was never putting myself in nature anymore. I was staying away from nature. Nature to me was a club, go to a club on the weekend. And so that was a big change for me after my experience. Now the most important things to me are family, Number one is family, and the relationships I have with the people I care about, which I care about everyone around me. I really do. I care about coworkers. I care about uh, you know neighbors. I care about anyone that I interact with on a regular basis, and I that becomes my priority. Is whoever is in front of me, whoever I'm working with. That is the number one most important thing in my universe while I'm working with them. And I do coaching myself, so that's part of what I do. Is I really embody this loving every single being that I come in contact with. And I love it because, the world wants you to believe you can only love so many people, you can only love so much. And that's true. That's not true at all. Your heart is not a bucket. Your heart is a straw or a flower, a flower of energy. It allows energy in and energy out. So you have
Mhm.
to function this way. This is the healthiest way to function with the heart. Allow yourself to love as much as you can in this life, because you can love everyone. You really can. And that's how I live differently. Is my family is so important to me. It is paramount. And then even more important than my family is my relationship with my creator. I make sure that I check in with my creator in my hour of power. The first thing I do when I wake up is I check in with my creator. The last thing I do right before I go to sleep is I check in with my creator. I make sure I maintain this very strong relationship with God, so that I can feel that presence constantly and consistently every single day. And that's how I am different. I am a different person. A lot of people didn't even, this all happened 20 years ago now. I just celebrated my 20th death day. And there's some people that thought I really died because I disappeared from their world at that point. And it wasn't that I really
Mm.
did die. I did die, but I came back. But I never came back to the clubbing industry. I never came back to the some of the career and places that I used to work. So I've become definitely a different person, a completely different person since then. I would hope to say a better person, but again, I don't judge. So I just say a very different person than I used to be.
Mhm. And what were some of the things that you appreciated? So I had a really deep experience myself, and after praying for a while, when I felt that I hit rock bottom, the answer for me was an experience of everything as it was new. Like I was in the same place, in the same apartment, the same people, with the same path, but I experienced everything. That's that exhilaration that you feel when something is new. I felt that, and I'm curious if you had a similar kind of experience with certain things.
I did. It's really kind of funny. I'll be watching a commercial or something, and I'll start to get teary eyed. And it's because it comes from such a heartfelt space. I get emotional about any time others are caring about each other. I
Mm.
really feel the love when people care about each other, especially strangers. When someone does something kind for a stranger, it really connects me to my creator there, because in that space, I feel even in the fake version of that, because they're doing it for a commercial or whatever, there's still the energy of that in there, and I feel that energy, and it makes me emotional, and I never was that way before, never ever before. And then other times I'll be watching a movie or watching something real on TV, and kind things are done for others, and when it is, it really connects to me. It strums my heartstrings. It makes me react in a way I've never reacted. And like you, I see things differently now. I see things completely different. I also perceive differently. That's one kind of odd thing, that after my experience, I now have this almost like an ESP, or extrasensory perception of other people. I now can I know how people are feeling. They don't have to tell me. I know just being near them, I feel how they're feeling. I know if they're doing good. I know if they're doing bad. I know if they're struggling. I don't know what they're struggling about, but I know that they're struggling with things. So, just being near people, I know about them. Um, Sometimes I can plug into who they are remotely, like via phone call or via Zoom or something, and even that way I know what's going on in their life. So I do see and experience the entire world differently, from my experience, from what I saw and experienced there. It's changed me. It's changed me forever, hopefully, I think.
That's wonderful. And before our interview, I was thinking about my own experience from 1 year ago, and I know some of our listeners have lost someone dear to them as well. Um, do you have a message for the people listening that have lost loved ones?
Yeah, definitely. The hardest part of losing someone is the fact that you stay here and they go on. Uh, but what we don't have to do is we don't have to worry about whether they continue on in life. They do. Every single one of us continue on in life, and most of us go right back home. And home is heaven. Most of us go right back there. A few of us hang out here and stay here on earth, especially when our loved ones are feeling such ache and such pain. They tend to stay until we kind of get over them, and then that allows them to fully cross over. Now that doesn't mean that they leave us forever. That means just that they allow the essence of who they are to cross over into heaven. Now while in the heaven space though, anytime you think about them, anytime you say anything to them, they are instantly there with you and feeling what's going on around you. And even when you're not thinking about something, but something important is happening to you, they again are there with you and they're feeling it, they're seeing it, they're experiencing it with you. So, our loved ones never really leave us ever. Even when they fully transition into the heaven space, they're never leaving us. It's kind of like going to a different frequency, a higher frequency of being. Even though they're in the same space as us, they're there. They can hear and perceive what's going on.
Wow, this is such a wonderful perspective, and so comforting knowing that. It really feels very good. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and it's also nice to know that those loved ones are so close to us as well, because
Mhm.
in our aching of losing them, we feel so disconnected from them. But it's not that they're disconnected. They're right there with us. It's the fact that we can't feel love. We're not allowing ourselves to feel love. That's how spirit communicates to us, is through love. So really the best way we can reconnect with our loved ones is to love them, to really feel and embody love without the ache, without the sorrow of losing them. Have that love, and that's where you can connect. That's where you're going to be able to connect to them, and feel and perceive them, even in their space, their higher frequency. You can still sense and perceive them. So, we've got to get into that loving space, even when we're aching and we miss them so much. Get to that space where you can really love them, and it's going to help you heal. It's going to help you connect to them in a way where you can perceive and feel them in your life.
That this is so true. I'm getting goosebumps. Um, Last year, my father died, and I was. It was really hard, but the moment I saw him, the first moment when I saw him after he passed away, I felt love. And before that, I was unsure. I was shocked from some points of view. And when I saw him, I felt love. And other thought just faded away.
Hmm.
And for me, that was amazing, and it it's exactly what you just mentioned. So
Yeah. It's funny, but the electricity or the internet of spirit is love. That's how we
yeah.
communicate. That's how we connect. That's the energy of how we connect to spirit. And a lot of people that are intuitive or mediums and that kind of thing, they essentially are really connected to the heart space. That's where they're connecting to these people.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. Even before this, I believe in the power of love and the power of gratitude. So these are my two pillars, let's say. And yeah, this just makes me even more aware of how powerful and how important this is. And yeah, I thank you so much for explaining this so beautifully. And I'm sure that for our listeners as well, it was a really comforting perspective, and I'm sure that they felt it as deeply as I did. Thank you for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So I don't want to miss something that I think is quite interesting. Um, After coming back, you traveled around the world. You lived in Cambodia and Thailand.
Hmm.
What prompted you to go there?
So, I actually did my living in Cambodia and Thailand before my experience, but since my
Mhm.
experience, I stay very connected to my loved ones there in both countries, and uh, what brought me there originally was I went on a service mission.
Mhm.
Where I actually went to teach Bible, but at that time that wasn't really allowed. So what we taught was we taught English and we taught literacy and we taught a little bit of Bible here and there, and even taught a little bit of construction stuff. That's what my specialty was before I went, and it was a very neat experience to go there. But while we were there in the Cambodian country, they had a civil war, so
Mhm.
during that civil war, we did leave to Thailand. We were forced to leave. It wasn't really our choice. We didn't want to go. We wanted to stay with the people, but the embassy and the church that we were working for, we went to Thailand for a couple months. So we got to have the beautiful experience of celebrating the Thai culture as well as the Cambodian culture. And I myself speak Vietnamese fluently, and did
Wow.
anyway. And so I actually really celebrate the Vietnamese culture, and I actually got to go quite a few times as translator, for my church and for who I was representing while I was there. And at the same time, I got to go do some really neat stuff there over the period of living there. So Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, all three I got to experience while I was living out there for a couple of years.
Wow. Wonderful. And did you pick up on some things? I'm really curious, of course, from the perspective of gratitude. I know I've been to Bali and in other places that I've seen people being very connected to the appreciation of life, to gratitude. Did you see anything similar to this there?
I did. I actually studied very heavily into Buddhism and into Taoism while I was there, and that it was kind of like an interchange. I was working with some Taoists, and so what in working with them, I would teach them some Christianity. They would teach me their Taoism, and then I also
Wow.
did that with Buddhism. And Buddhism actually got very high level of education in the Buddhist faith, where I got to go up and see uh, some of the higher levels inside their pagoda or their wat, their temple. And I got to see some very familiar images of what Christians believe is the future, they also believe is the future. So there's some really neat similarities between all these different religions. And then I have my experience. I go to heaven and I actually see that there are Buddhists in heaven, there's Muslims in heaven, there's Jews in heaven, there's all these people in heaven, Gentile, Jew, everybody. There's all these different cultures there, and not all of them are the same. But if you are raised in Islam, or if you're raised in some of these other religions, they teach you that you're the only one that's going to be in heaven. None of these other religions will be there. And it was very enlightening for me to see that there was all these different religions there, that it wasn't about trying to believe in each other's gods, that we were all describing the same God. It's just we were describing it from a different point of view. And really that God, that creator, is the same God and creator of all these religions and that we're describing. It's just these religions are mankind's way of trying to describe who God is and who God was and has been and will be for all of us. So, it was really amazing to get into that, to learn that. And yes, I did learn the power of gratitude. I learned so strongly that if we can embody gratitude daily, we can change our biochemical structure of our body, that we can become healthier and better suited for life if we can make ourselves feel gratitude every day. And I call it an attitude of gratitude. If we can have that attitude of gratitude, if we can put down a little top 10 most things that we're grateful for and reread it every day, it keeps us in this sense of gratitude, and it allows us to attract much more beautiful life for ourselves. It allows us to attract and bring in great successes that we wouldn't otherwise have. And it also allows us to attract better health in the physical body just by having gratitude. Whereas if you have the opposite, if you feel that you're a victim and you're constantly feeling you're a victim, you're going to attract illness to yourself. You're going to attract more opportunities to feel that you're a victim. So it boils back down to what I learned, the power of creation. What our thoughts and what our intentions do is they broadcast to the universe, and the universe reacts and starts bringing to us what we broadcast. And if we broadcast gratitude, it brings us more opportunities to feel gratitude. If we broadcast victimhood, it's going to give us more opportunities to become a victim. So, it's like driving down the street and thinking, oh, I hope I don't hit that light pole. If you keep thinking that long enough, you'll drive right into that light pole. That's just how it happens. So you got to go in the opposite and say, wow, I'm so grateful for that light pole that it gives me light at night. I'm so grateful for that light pole. It gives me light at night. You'll never hit that light pole. But it's just a change of thoughts. That's it. Change your thoughts and you change your reality.
That's so true. And yeah, I love how visual you went with this. And yeah, it's as you mentioned, or what we're focusing on, we tend to go towards, whether consciously or unconsciously. So yeah, definitely. And I would like to connect this to your book, The Light After Death. If we focus more on the light, we get to experience more things that are related to the light, to the beautiful things in life, compared to being a victim and just thinking about those things that are bad and that aren't working as they are supposed to work. So tell us a little bit more about the book, about where it can be found.
So the book, you can find my story on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. Right now, the paperback version is only available in the United States, but you can get the Kindle and the Audible internationally. If you would like to get the paper book internationally, you can reach out through my website at livinggodslight.com. Again, that's livinggodslight.com. If you go out there, you can message us, and we can give you a price of what it would cost to send it to you wherever you live in the world. And we do our best to discount the book so that it helps offset the cost of the shipping, because it is, sometimes it's $30 to $50 to ship one book from the United States to, somewhere else in the world. So it's it's expensive to send it that way, but eventually we're going to get international distribution. We're looking at setting that up by next year, so that people can, get it quicker and easier, and on Amazon internationally. So, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Good. So make sure you pick up the book. It's going to be an amazing experience, as the interview was. Thank you so much for being here with us, Vinny, for sharing your story, for bringing your light to this podcast, and to shining your light every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgian, and thank you for this gratitude podcast. This is a tool for those who, it's a good way that someone could kind of stimulate their gratitude muscles in their life. Is, go check out this podcast, and you can embody that attitude of gratitude in your own life, especially as you hear other people's experiences and opportunities where they can find gratitude. So thank you for what you do. I really appreciate what you do. I appreciate you being the beacon of light that you are in this world. And I can sense and feel that from you, that you are that beacon of love and light for others. And thank you for following this mission to do this podcast, because it's not about how many people you reach. It's about reaching the right people, the people who need this. And that's really what you're doing, is you're creating an opportunity for those who need this to get this and make a difference in the world. So thank you, and kudos to you, props to you, respect and love to you for what you do with the podcast.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. My pleasure, George. And it's been awesome to speak with you today.
Definitely. Same here. Hey, Gratitude Seeker. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day, or maybe even their life, much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.